Hello, everyone, and welcome to COVID-19 Cloud Platforms in the New Business Reality, a security triple threat for SMBs. I'm Vinny Civitello, Communications Manager for the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. With us today are Betty Friedel and Dave Reske of Guardian Digital. Dave Reske is the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Guardian Digital Inc., the open source business email security provider. Already established as an internet security expert and network architect at UPS, Dave was captivated by the power of open source development as a basis for internet and email security. He founded Guardian Digital in 1999 and developed a one-of-a-kind powerful program, a defense against the most sophisticated business email threats. In believing that email security is more than just a product, but in fact a process, Dave is dedicated to providing Guardian Digital clients top-class customer support, ease of implementation, and cost effectiveness. Betty Friedel joined Guardian Digital in early 2019, bringing expertise in marketing research and customer focus from her extensive background working in the medical device, pharmaceutical, and biotechnology industries. Betty applied her in-depth knowledge of the diabetes marketplace and customer needs to lead a team at BD in building a customer-focused, first-round FDA-approved diabetes management software tool. Her role in customer development for Guardian Digital utilizes a keen understanding of the cybersecurity market and how a best-in-quality email security solution can truly meet the needs for digital security of businesses today. A few housekeeping matters before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you tomorrow along with the PowerPoint for today's presentation, so be on the lookout for those. If you just can't wait, you can download them right now from the webinar handouts, but I'd also like to draw your attention to the questions button. Betty and Dave would be happy to take your questions, so get them in as they come to you. One last thing, if you have any audio or visual issues while you're on the GoToWebinar platform, you can refresh your browser, but if that doesn't work, don't forget all of you will be receiving that recording within 24 hours, so if you have to watch that, you won't miss a thing. So now let's get things started. Betty?
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today. I'm going to speak about the things that are happening in the world today. So the pandemic has caused us to change our behavior with our health, and it's impacted us greatly in how we think of our health and how we think of our lives and the security we need to take and the precautions with that. It's also caused a change in how we work, and we're going to discuss all of that in today's agenda. So COVID-related cyber threats, we're going to discuss the trends that are happening today and how they impact on how we work. And COVID-19 has moved us indoors, both from the safety side, health-wise, as well as the work side, and that impacts how security is managed or should be managed on a digital basis. And we're going to discuss safeguarding business email because it's more important than ever, and think of a more strategic approach to doing this because, again, like guarding your health, what has happened with COVID-19 has impacted digital security as greatly as it has our health. And our digital safety online to maintain our business security is also extremely important. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to end up and learn a little bit more why business your business could be more secure with a purpose-built business solution, really that's focused on safeguarding our email enterprise systems. And your presenters today are Dave and myself, Betty Friedel.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. That's from Dave. So just a little bit more about Guardian Digital. We were founded in 1999. Actually, this is our birthday month. So wish us happy birthday, 21 years. Dave is the founder. He started off at UPS and was their security architect and responsible for their UPS.com portal and their security needs. And doing so, he saw all the threats that are endemic to the internet at that time, and of course still now have ratcheted up, as well as business email, and that business email could be so very vulnerable. And using his knowledge base and whatever, he decided that he could put together a solution that could be more formidable against these risks and also could be cost effective at the same time. So he opened up his doors with the basis in thinking that security is not just a product, it's a process, so it's fully managed and supported, and that we would tailor our security solution to each individual company that we work with. And we work with them hand in hand and make sure that it is configured and tailored specifically to a company's individual needs. And Dave, I don't know, would you like to add something more about the architecture of the solution?
No, we'll go through that. I think that should be okay for now.
Okay. So let's talk about the new normal and the shift to working remotely that the pandemic has caused. And actually, this is a shift that's been happening now for quite some time. Back in 2012, very few of us were working at home or remotely. But by 2016, 4 out of 10 workers were actually working remotely in some capacity or format. I like to think of it as the growth with Starbucks. Starbucks opened up more places to sit down and have access to the internet, so did we move out the door. However, because of the crisis of COVID-19, it's now estimated that tens of millions of Americans are indeed working at home to safeguard themselves, their neighbors, their families, and because it was the needed thing to do. And as a result, it's something that is a convenience factor, and it's not likely to change anytime soon. And in fact, companies like Google, Square, Twitter, all the large companies like those technology companies have stated actively that the majority of the workers will continue to work remotely at home until 2021. And many of them, as long as the work keeps up and the companies can do so, and cloud platforms, and we're going to see that, allow them to do so more efficiently, that's a trend that is likely to continue for convenience sake and the fact that companies have and are adjusting to that. So we're going to see how that works, though, in terms of security. Let's think about your business email. It's so important. It's everything that you do is with business email. How you communicate, your marketing, your new ideas, finance, everything, set up meetings, all of it's done through email. It's such an important tool. Even though other tools have come up to try to maybe replace it or compete with it, business email still remains the #1 tool that we all use. And as a result, it represents your brand and your reputation. And at all costs, it really needs to be protected because it is also an open door to phishing and ransomware attacks. And with COVID-19 like never before. So in 2019, 9 out of 10 organizations actually did experience some sort of business email compromise. Some vulnerability was approached or came through their email systems. And today, really 91% of target cyber attacks originate with email. So email is really the crux of what could happen in your digital environment, and it needs to really be protected at all costs. Because we work remotely and because we might not have set up our computers, our laptops in a safe, secure way, other people in the household may have access to it. The computer's left on day and night. Cyber criminals have also noticed this and have taken distinct advantage of our distracted behavior and of systems that are not as secure as they once were or have been in an office setting. And so remote working actually has brought new security risks and challenges, and state-sponsored terrorists are actually, have noted that. I mean, they're also in a pandemic state themselves and staying at home and have been able to utilize all their tools to attack systems. And they are state-sponsored. The FBI cannot get at them, and it's Christmas out there for them, and they've used the pandemic as a cover for digital reconnaissance, espionage, and above all, theft.
Yeah, ransomware and phishing are big business. Countries like North Korea are using it to fund their nuclear operations. It's no longer just a couple of hackers kind of thing. It's really organized crime and state-sponsored at this point.
So we all work now and gravitated even more so to cloud-based systems, and you could see the different logos. So whether we work on Office 365, Microsoft systems, or Google G Suite, that they're all cloud-based systems, and whether we use Skype or Zoom to do our business meetings such as this one. They are all cloud-based systems, and you know, as a result, they're inherently they offer a lot of things and a lot of tools, but they also don't offer the safety that we need. And even in 2019, as it was a gradual move to cloud-based security systems or cloud-based services, 93% of businesses did recognize that there are security issues, and actually over a fourth of them did experience some kind of incident on a cloud-based system. And that included such things as exposed data, malware infections, account compromises, and vulnerabilities in using clouds, or one cloud speaking to another cloud, gaps in security, and they were exposed. So that was in 2009, pre-pandemic.
Right, and yesterday we learned from the Zoom CEO that he doesn't believe that the level of security offered in their free product should or needs to be the same as the level of security provided in their commercial product. And you know, many users may not realize that, and that's a serious issue. You know, we shouldn't be sacrificing security, you know, because as a trade-off, really, in these cases. And you know, many of these other vendors do the same thing. You know, sacrifice security in exchange for something that they offer for free. So you know, that's a growing concern for businesses.
And we're going to talk more about that. So cloud services offer a great deal of functionality. I mean, how do you work your Microsoft Outlook, G Suite, all the tools that are there, the storage space, and so forth. But they also are at risk. As we adopt them, they just don't have the inherent safety precautions that are needed. They are large, they are complex, and maybe even too large and complex to secure on their own. And that's why we do have companies like Guardian Digital to offer solutions specifically to protect business email. That's so important, and offering different layers of protection that are needed, because just because you are going on the cloud, you cannot think you're safe. I think there's a misnomer, a misconception that using the cloud, I'm on a safe system. But basically, you aren't, and the numbers show that with executives who report unauthorized access. There's concern that interfaces are not set up properly, or there's a lot of misconfigurations along the way, especially if there's hasty deployment of Office 365 and not additional safety is built in, and we're going to get to that in a short while. So let's talk about what our threat intelligence has shown that's happening now. Phishing attacks related to COVID-19 are up 250% between March and April, and actually, I believe that number has even grown somewhere along the lines of 600 to 800% in the readings that we've done in our understanding of the marketplace. And even our own solution, and I find this staggering, that in 1 month's time of April, we picked up more bad emails, more phishing attacks in 1 month and quarantined them than we did in the previous 20 years. And that to me is exceptional, to show you how bad it is and how much at risk we are, and the vulnerabilities that the cyber thieves have seen out there and taking advantage of it. The #1 malware tactic via phishing happens to be Office macro enabled documents. So Excel files coming in that you might tap on that you think is coming from a clean source or somehow has a malignancy in it, and you enable it and you have the malignancy now then on your computer. Credential theft is huge now, and it's compromising accounts because of using trust relationships. So the fact that social engineering and these cyber thieves have access to greater tools on their end, as well as to all the information on our end via social media, etc. And they're able to design emails in specific languages that are related to HR or medical or even IT. So no area of expertise is not being exploited at this point in time. That's how vulnerable we all can be. Ransomware gangs have stepped up their attacks really big time, and payouts have increased up to 33% in 3 months. And again, this is climbing because we're still working remotely. We still have many of us unsecured systems, and as long as all that continues, the cyber thieves are very clever. They recognize that. They prey upon fears of clicking on and tricking us to do so, and that will continue. So again, the diligence that is needed to protect your digital space is enormous, and you really need to think about it strategically. And that's something I will be bringing up continuously. So cloud email is actually more maybe the state of insecurity than security, because again, workers are just being exploited because systems are not secure, the networks are not secure. There might not be VPNs in place. We're going to talk about that. There might not be endpoint security up to date and in place. So attackers have updated their own malware campaigns to exploit this heightened attention on COVID-19 that a lot of us look for information and have been clicking on it. And they're waiting to monetize them, and in certain cases already they have done so. Plus they can switch on a dime. They're that sophisticated. So as new roadblocks are built up by the good guys in IT, the sophistication by the cyber thieves is just as relevant or diligent, and they go around it and start a new campaign that day or within 24 hours. So we have vulnerable networks at home that are not as secure as they were in the office, and cyber thieves have taken note of that. Homeland Security and FBI, they've put out alerts to avoid a hasty deployment of Office 365. It's a great tool, but because 7 out of 10 or 70% of the world uses it, it's also #1 targeted for cyber thieves. And without setting up additional security, it's not unto itself secure enough, and it's an open door. Cyber criminals have pivoted. So all the economic stimulus lures that are out there by Small Business Association, by the World Health Organization, CDC, so forth, cyber criminals have noted that too and want in on that money and have taken advantage. So FBI constantly puts out alert that you need to be careful and diligent about what comes into your inbox, and anything asking for money is a toss automatically, because companies, legitimate companies, will not ask for that information. So on a recent survey of 1,000 US-based decision makers, the move to clouds is going to continue, but 1 out of 2 have seen an increase in phishing attacks since moving to a remote working model. And around the same number, they actually do expect a data breach in the coming months. So there is a heightened awareness of what the value that working on cloud systems can bring, but also the security risks that are there too. Nonetheless, close to 6 out of 10 said they plan to continue mass remote working after the COVID-19 crisis. We've already brought that up, and that they're going to accelerate their plans to migrate to a 100% cloud-based model. And I'm going to have Dave take you through what we've seen in the digital community world related to coronavirus that you need to be aware of.
Sure. So if you've seen the real version of this from Johns Hopkins, it's an interactive map that allows you to see the number of confirmed cases of COVID and currently and in real time. And these cyber thieves are taking advantage of our anxiety surrounding this and how it's affecting us personally, and creating replicas of this trusted source and using it to their advantage. So that may be in the form of an email that's a link to a real-time map that shows you COVID information, but in the process of that downloads some type of malware or info stealing information or digital files that could compromise your local machine, and use your computer as a jumping off point for attacking other systems. So it's really just an example of how these cyber thieves are leveraging current events to really take advantage of us. And we'll see other examples of that as well. In fact, we can go into the next one here. This is another attempt at sending information that appears to be from the World Health Organization, but really in reality, clicking on the highlighted link there, it either immediately downloads some type of malware to your computer, or it takes you to a fake login page that may look like something official, where you would enter your login credentials, say to a bank or to some other trusted source, say the SBA, and when in fact it's really just a replica, but not the original. They then in real time will use that information to log into the real SBA site on your behalf, and download your information, or redirect any money that's there to them instead. So there's some key tip-offs here. The WHO isn't going to be sending emails with a Dropbox link, with your information in it. So there would never really be a reason to click on this link. We also see the reply to address is some, personal Gmail account, which is a big tip-off that this is a problem. Okay, so this next one here, we have malware targeting more real-time current events. In this case, it's regarding PPP and other funding type situations where on number one, we see the subject is some type of current event. This one, like I said, PPP. In number two, we see the sender is some individual from another nondescript domain, manynations.com, which is a big tip-off that why would they be sending us information on PPP? But they really rely on the urgency of the situation, and as you see in number three, it happens around the time that people are requesting information on PPP. So perhaps they're already expecting it, so they wouldn't have a reason really to question it if it's something that they were waiting for. In number four, we see this is what makes it fileless malware, where it's really just a link where you click and with common familiar language like review, file, and sign that we see in legitimate digital documents, say from DocuSign or one of the Adobe products. And then in number five, we see how really there's a sense of urgency. We really only have 3 days to do this. And so in our busy schedules, maybe we're more inclined to just click ahead and follow through with that, to be sure that, we don't miss out on the opportunity for this money. Okay, and this one, really, this is a phishing attack that's directed at Office 365, from an Office 365 user. We see here Karen, which is really this email came from a Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary and went through their system to one of ours where we caught it. And we see here it also uses the familiar OneDrive source that really we've come to know and trust, and cyber thieves are taking advantage of that and our familiarity with those services. And number three, we see familiar language with review document. So this is another example of fileless malware where we click on this and are prompted with a login screen similar to a OneDrive login, where we would attempt to enter our credentials a number of times. And as we're doing that, when it fails the first time, maybe it was a typo, and we enter it in the second time, and the cyber thieves are there in the back end trying to capture that information and then use it to actually log into our OneDrive account. So number four, we see that this the Karen's really a paralegal. It's not directed directly to the CFO or some high-level person in the organization, but instead the person that would probably be a softer target and can compromise, have their information compromised, and then use that to for the cyber thief to contact the CFO directly. or gain access to the confidential information that's under Karen's responsibility and under her control. And so in number 5, we see that it's a familiar signature that builds trust between the recipient of this message and from the sender, because it's familiar. So they're going to look at that and see how oh, hey, this really does look like Karen's email, when in fact it was Karen's email itself that was compromised, and her desktop was compromised, and this information was sent out to all of her familiar contacts. So they're constantly leveraging that trust, and it never really used to be the case that that individual accounts were compromised, but now we're seeing that frequently, more commonly. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Office 365 now that you've actually seen an example of what can happen to an Office 365 or a Microsoft user. Office 365 is a great product. I use it myself, Outlook in the last couple of decades, but it is highly vulnerable without added protection. It doesn't really have enough security built into the sophisticated, evolving attacks that are happening today. It can't really predict where something is coming from or if it's a legitimate URL. And often things are updated or fixed retrospectively, but that may be too late for your system or your, and if you are the one that's compromised. So it's great that the patches come, but it would be good if it was protected up front. It doesn't have a mechanism, again, built in to detect spam from previously unknown sources. So it can't recognize new and what's coming, and something's coming like we have been speaking about almost every day at this point in time. It's that sophisticated and that evolved on the part of the cyber thieves. So securing Office 365, especially if you're gravitating to it now or if you even have had it for a while, thinking of extra protection is really key, because all your email system and all your files are running through it. We do offer a free e-guide. Welcome to come on our site or talk to me after the presentation in the next few days or week to come, and we can talk more about your concerns, and we're happy to share the guide with you so you can review it and see where your company stands with Office 365 and how best to protect it and make it more robust solution for you, a more robust tool for you to use. So we have some advice and tips for staying safe while working remotely and working with cloud-based systems. You actually need to be your own monitor. So in addition to solutions that you may have on your system, you actually also have to be a part of the picture, and you have to watch for phishing, ransomware, and other email-borne attacks. Emails that come into your view, into your inbox asking for money that you don't recognize, setting up meetings that you didn't know that were coming at you. All this needs to be questioned and challenged. And yes, it does take time, but you have to think about your digital safety, your brand, your computer, your assets. They're all important, and they're all part of the scenario here. It's important to not rely on endpoint security alone. However, you do need to have a good endpoint security system, so like a McAfee or a Norton, and it needs to be up to date, and it needs to be made secure to your system, as well as scan your system every 24 hours. So it is important to have it, but alone it will not keep emails out of the inbox that are errant and that have malicious code in it. It's not built to do that. It will protect you scanning on internet sites. It's important to have a VPN to encrypt data in place, and one that you pay for. Free is what it is. It's nice to have, but it will not have all the safety features that is needed to protect you and your server and encrypt the data as you again go onto the internet and you send email along your systems. Well, we don't go out much yet these days, but when we do, you do not want to use open-ended wireless networks. That again is a way for hackers to get at your system. You certainly need to be wary of emails that come from personnel email addresses. Many times when a phishing attack comes in, it's labeled from a company, maybe using a marked off logo or something similar, but then there's a Gmail account in the address file. So you need to look for those kinds of things and say, and toss it, or call if it's a recognized name and you think it could be from somebody you do know. You should have protocols in place. All companies should now, which says what is authentic and what is not, so that you can mitigate what can happen to your system in terms of spoofing and compromise. And those are things that Guardian Digital certainly can help you with in terms of setting up protocols in place. And actually, our solution is designed with that function in mind of what protocols to set in place to know what emails to help entrap and to understand the patterns that you work with in your business profile. Multi-factor authentication is really critical at this point in time. I mean, you should never give out credentials without it. I don't think any bank or any company would ask for it without multi-factor authentication. Hopefully most of us or all of us know what that is, where you get the alert on a phone or a designated email and you have to put in a second or third code before you can get into a system. What's important is if you can, you should reserve that business computer for the business. So when other people have access to the computer and get onto other sites, you never know what can come through the other site, again, if there's not the security precautions in place. And then again, sophisticated malware comes in. It doesn't have to attack at once. It could sit there for days and weeks, and it waits for the right moment to go into the business system and then make its move when it can monetize the situation. So it's important to maintain good hygiene, I will say, for working with at home and working on a business computer. So cloud-based platforms, again, we can't say it enough. They offer so much in terms of capacity, the ability to work with great products that are offered by Google and Microsoft, but they are not secure in themselves. And again, a reminder, 9 out of 10 of all attacks come through email, and cloud service are accessed through email, G Suite, Microsoft. So if execution or putting on these or migrating to these platforms, if you don't put inherent software tools in place, you are opening up the door that much more to cyber thieves. And we have noted that as many as 10 different strains of ransomware are currently being used, and even that number could be changing again as I speak. It's that sophisticated and that dangerous out there. So a reminder, clouds are not secure. They're prone to misconfiguration. They have access control and platform vulnerabilities. When clouds talk to other clouds, usually there's quite an open gap or a gateway that's opened, and millions of accounts can be affected at the same time. As a matter of fact, I think just 2 or 3 days ago, IBM's cloud system went down, and I believe it was a strain of malware that did it. So we're all vulnerable, is really what, from large to small to medium, all vulnerable. So let's talk about our philosophy. It's something that I've tried to talk about throughout the presentation. Security is a process. Digital security is a process. It's not a product. It's something that we've believed in from day one when Dave started the company in 1999. It's so important. We do consider partnering with our clients to help them navigate the threat landscape securely. And it's something that we feel is very important in terms of managing security. So not just a product off the shelf, it's our own product, and we put ourselves behind it and work with the companies that we secure their business email systems.
Yeah, we really believe in a multi-layered process. There isn't any single product that you can buy and just put on your network and expect to be secure. It really requires an ongoing effort continually, as well as many different pieces that secure the process along the way and secure your information throughout its life cycle, not just you know, at any one single point.
So we consider ourselves as being really very much on the front line of this cyber war, and we do think it is a cyber war. And as Dave said, many of the things that our solution offers is end-to-end protection against phishing, ransomware, all of it that can come through. We do block advanced threats prior to them reaching the inbox because we scan the emails first. That's what our solution acts as, a big protective fence around your email enterprise, and we block these threats. And we can do sender fraud protection. We recognize where emails are coming from, and so we can protect if they're coming from a place they shouldn't be. And we do work with all existing mail systems. So whether it's G Suite or whether it's Microsoft, or we can be your email system on its own. So here is one of our success stories working with Samsung Auto Mall. They had priorities of stopping ransomware and advanced spear phishing that they were seeing on an increasing basis. And this was really pre-COVID-19, you know, before all the pandemic issues had started. But nonetheless, the growth in ransomware and threats has been increasing, you know, for many years now, just exponentially with the crisis this year. And in an effort, they wanted to stop the ransomware, stop phishing attacks, and they also wanted to ease off on the administration that they had to do in this effort and put their administration resources in a different direction, not security for their business email. So the things that they required were a solution that was easy to manage, that offered extensive support, and that was also cost effective. And that's where we did come in, work with them to secure their systems and to make sure that they had the solution tailored to their needs and that we would manage the issues that, or what came up in quarantine and so forth. And so their IT could be directed elsewhere. And the result was great satisfaction. And you can see it from the quote there. First, it was macro viruses, then malicious links within the message body. Those are the things we talked about all during this presentation. Those are the things that are happening now, the sophisticated level of stuff that we are seeing in bad emails. And we needed a solution that evolved with the spammer techniques and found that with Guardian Digital. Okay, so we're going to end with, again, thinking of staying safe on a digital basis as a strategy for you. You have your marketing strategy, you have your financial strategy. You need to have a strategy for your digital security. And that's what we need to have you think of it going forward. So when you are diligent about who uses your business computer, you know, make it, safeguard it, make sure it has the safety features on it that we talked about, endpoint security, as much layered security as you can have that doesn't hamper your business and but keeps the stuff out of your inbox. And also safeguard your computer that it's you, the business person, using it and not multiple users. That will also make it more secure. And think of it like washing your hands. So the safety features you use in your health are really the safety features that apply in a digital space as well. You need to review your emails. Anything that says COVID-19 in the subject line is requesting information, requesting money, inviting you to a meeting. Don't automatically click unless you absolutely expected it to be in your inbox. Do a double check. You need to be your own security agent in this. So working with whatever solutions you do have on your system, and think of it like wearing a face mask in public. And then it's really key, if you want ultimate security for your business, that you implement a layered defense, business email security, because it does something very specific to guarding that inbox that endpoint securities and VPNs just cannot do. And it's like keeping the distance of 6 feet or more by placing us, Guardian Digital, between you and cloud-based cyber attacks. So on that note, if we have questions, and also please note, we're happy to provide a free security assessment or a trial, and we think of this as a partnership. So we'd like to be part of your strategy for securing your digital business needs. And we're here for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Betty. We have a few questions that have come through already, and I think you touched on most of them, but I'll ask anyway while people type in more. So first up, have you been seeing more, less, or about the same phishing attacks during COVID?
We've seen dramatic increases in COVID month over month. In fact, as Betty had even mentioned, April and May represented more attacks in any one month than any in our previous 20-year history. And a large part of those are COVID. And we're seeing these cyber thieves, cyber attackers leverage their existing infrastructure to just recycle new campaigns. So today it's COVID and test kits and PPP loans and SBC loans, and soon I'm sure we'll see them use those same compromised systems around the world to create discord and distrust of our election systems as our election approaches, and information about mail-in voting and all the things that we see in the news. Really, that's what they do, and we've seen that just grow dramatically over the last 12 months or so.
Here's a question. Is use of cell phone technology for texting more secure than non-VPN access to public Wi-Fi hotspots?
I would say generally yes. Certainly, texting is a more secure way than using email without any additional level of protection, especially. But in both systems, you really don't want to just use those blindly. Particularly for your confidential information. I'm not sure that I would text my social security number, or certainly not email my social security number or my bank information or my tax statements back and forth to my accountant without going through some type of encryption and pre-negotiated level of security between the 2 points.
Are there any VPNs you recommend?
Really, you really need to do your due diligence there. I believe the more popular ones, like I believe NordVPN is one that I believe has a good reputation, but do some research and Googling. If you just Google for secure VPN comparison, many times they'll be driven by the vendors themselves. So you really need to also be careful there. See if you can find a trusted source. Perhaps Wikipedia is a source where you can find less biased information. But ask your friends as well, and feel free to contact us, and we can provide answers to specific questions as well.
Is a product like Barracuda sufficient to protect and back up cloud data?
To back up cloud data, yeah, I would say you might want to try one of the companies that specialize in backing up cloud data. I believe Datto is one of them, and Backupify. There's some others, but yeah, I mean, even though Gmail and Microsoft may back up your email, it's definitely advantageous to having your own separate backup. And not just relying on them. I mean, it is the case where they have lost, user information in the past that makes it irrecoverable, and they have no responsibility for that, particularly for their, their free solution. So having a backup in place is offsite, different from your own location as well as your cloud account is good advice.
Along the same lines, what products do you recommend for protecting against phishing?
Well, Guardian Digital, in fact, has been focusing on that for the past 20 years as our primary service to our customers. So it's really a layered product that involves the level of security and management that businesses need, and that's how we really distinguish ourselves. There's other lesser capable products that may seem great on the surface, but really you need to make sure that they're providing the level of support that you need, so you can trust their the client's contents, and without having to constantly do the administration that typipally comes with these off-the-shelf solutions. Guardian Digital really works with our clients to understand who they are and what their biggest risks are, and who their clients are, and really forms a relationship with our clients to really get an understanding of what their risks are, so we can better identify the anomalies that may occur along the way.
We have Office 365 and Proofpoint as our solution. Do you think that is a good solution to protect from email threats?
I think that's a fine solution, but again, really, Guardian Digital distinguishes itself by the level of support that we provide. You know, if you ever had a problem with an email and you wanted to submit it to our portal, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it and really just take care of it for you. With some of these other solutions, it's you know, here's the solution. Now, you know, you need an administrator to configure it and do it on an ongoing basis. Whereas with Guardian Digital, we're an extension of your administration and work with you tirelessly to make sure that you're constantly secured.
Our next question seems to answer itself, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. I'm getting job opportunities from many unknown sources, jobs to careers, next careers, etc. Now they seem worthy of tossing. Right thing to do. Their subject lines sound too good to be true, and they send you through link after link.
Yeah, we have seen this kind of thing, as well as the ability to buy. I mean, this sounds very much like the scams where you can buy lists, you know, say of contacts of different companies, and you know, they claim to have information on your competitors and you know, provide that service for, you know, a per month cost, or you know, thousands of previous clients. And really what that is these cyber thieves doing research on LinkedIn and social media and on your corporate website to learn who you are and know who your competitors are, and really take the time to learn about you and use that to their advantage. So you know, it's no longer the case where spammers just blast out 1 million emails at once and hope for some type of, you know, return on that. Now it's a more targeted, you know, directed approach at individuals within an organization after doing the reconnaissance and intelligence gathering on them to be most effective. And so while those types of attacks account for a smaller percentage of the overall attacks that we're seeing, they're by far the most lucrative. So they're the most dangerous for sure.
Actually, that touches on our next question here. Most of my employees don't have access to our financial accounts. As long as we, the C-suite, are watching out for this ourselves, are we okay?
Great question. Actually, no, because we're seeing in the example, even one of the examples that we provided here today, you know, Karen's account, who's just a paralegal, was compromised. And then they used that information to move their way through the organization. So each level of the organization has something different to risk. You know, the IT administrator might have access to the security of the CFO's account, and by compromising, you know, the low-level IT guy's account, they can, you know, ultimately get their way through the organization. The same with just a paralegal. You know, they may have some basic, say for an HR person, maybe some basic HR records. But that's the person that's controlling, you know, the W-2s and the 1099s. So we're seeing those accounts get compromised and identities being stolen as a result of that. So each level needs to be protected.
I actually have a question. So what's some low-hanging fruit that someone could take back today and start implementing, like the big takeaway?
That's a great one. Betty, would you like to take this one?
Well, one of the things they need to take away is that we're all in this, and that you have to be diligent. It has to start with you in terms of how you think about working on your system, and that how you want to safeguard it. So what comes into your system, who you work with. You have to actually, in effect, especially if you're in a smaller business environment, set up your own protocols for yourself and not just click on things, not just accept things. So that's one thing. You have to be a checker. You have to be involved, just like you make the decisions for your health care and wearing, masks, washing hands, all those things. I use those analogies, or we did, because we really wanted people to understand how much of a process is, how much things have changed, and where cybersecurity, the cyber thieves have been out there for a long time, but they just have grown even more sophisticated, and they are really using COVID-19 as a great cover for themselves because of the fear factor, because of the fact that we did go in remotely. We don't have secure systems. And then I would start with, well, what am I using to secure myself against working on the internet? What is my VPN? What is my endpoint security? Is it catered or customized to my system? Those are all the things, and it's important now to maybe work with that IT person or company that we may have been avoiding in the past. It's money that will be well spent.
Right. I think also I could add that with so many of us now working remotely, as we discussed, it really increases the threat landscape. It makes every endpoint, every desktop, every laptop, a potential vulnerability. Whereas previously the IT department within an organization could just concentrate their security on the desktops within the actual organization, but now we have mobile users and people using their own laptops and desktops to connect to the corporate network. And even though they may use a VPN or some type of additional security, if that system is compromised beyond just having the VPN, they can use that to get into the organization as a whole. So you really need to look at the whole system as a whole, and as well as each individual piece.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have, so it's as good a time as anything to bring things to a close. Don't
Very
forget,
good.
all of you will be receiving a recording of today's webinar and the PowerPoint slides via email within the next 24 hours. Lastly, when you close out of the webinar, a survey will come up on your screen that we hope you'll fill out so we can understand how to best provide you important information in a webinar format. Our next webinar, Sales Strategies for Rebuilding Growth Organically, will take place today at 2:30. So by all means, feel free to register for that one on our website at njbia.org/webinars. So until next time, for Betty Friedel and Dave Reske, this is Vinny Civitello thanking you for being with us this morning and wishing you a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe, stay digitally safe, everybody. Bye.